Chase, which is my son that passed away at 12. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She goes, well, there's a book about to be published, and I gave them the okay to put the story in it. And I was like, well, where's that from? She goes, well, Dr. Sue that, I've never met at that point, but she goes to the Thomas house, which my parents have gone to Thomas house, says that she's gotten to know a lady that has this power or a messenger type thing, and Chase has come to her and talked to her. And I told him, go ahead and put the story in the book. Well, at first I'm like, well, that ain't right. First off, my background is I'm a Christian. Chase was a Christian when he died. I struggled for a while. It took me almost 2 years to realize, okay, God's got this. I don't know the reason why he had to go, as we all have lost somebody. But I figured out how to let God handle it even before I met Sara to give me even more confirmation where Chase is. It took me, my story, my testimony is Chase's testimony, so I kind of tell you how it was. After Chase died, it took a while. I looked for an answer. I want a dream. I want some comfort. And the first time I dreamed about Chase, he came to me. He was little, and it was a big open glass area. People were outside, people around, and I was carrying I don't know what. Somebody behind me was carrying something. The only thing that I placed in my mind was a cross. Why I was carrying this cross, I didn't know. But I saw Chase on the outside of the glass door, and I turned and gave it to somebody. And I picked up Chase, and I picked him up. I said, buddy, are you okay? And he goes, no, I'm looking for my daddy. And I said, well, it's me. And I was thinking, well, maybe he's talking about his stepdad, because Robert was a wonderful person. I'll tell you about Robert later. But, and he finally looked at me. He goes, oh. And I said, are you okay? He goes, no. And I said, well, have you not seen Jesus yet? He goes, no, and I don't want to go back. And I woke up. And I had this negative, oh my goodness. And that was a Thursday morning, Sunday morning at church, the special music, the guy got up to sing, and the big video screen had Jesus sitting in a throne. And in his lap, laying across him, was a little blonde-haired boy in a green shirt, which Chase's favorite color was green. And at that point, I was like, okay, no, it's okay. I really feel like, God's going to give us something, but I think the devil can pull us in the other way too to give us doubt. So testing my faith one time again, I'm going to test my faith. So as I'm still struggling, I finally get the phone call. I was dreaming that I was at work, and my coworker, the nurse I work with, said, Chase is on the phone. So I lean into the phone. She's listening, and this is a dream. And I hear, Daddy, it's me. And I said, well, are you okay? And he goes, I'm okay, and I didn't mean to hurt myself. Chase died of a gunshot wound. Okay, he was playing with his stepfather's pistol, which was a state trooper, which left his gun belt laying in the bedroom. Loaded weapon, which if you're in the military or active or even police officers, you don't carry a loaded weapon into a house or anywhere. But it was. And the gun fired and Chase was dead. But, so back to the dream was, hey, Dad, I'm okay. I didn't mean to hurt myself. I just want to let you know I'm okay. I said, well, buddy, I'm going to come get you like we always do. You can't come get me, Daddy. I just want to let you know I'm okay and I love you. I woke up from that dream. Well, I woke up from that dream still going, just not enough. God, I still don't understand why you had to take him. I was coming into work not too long after that. Bumper-to-bumper traffic coming in south into Huntsville. And they had some construction at the time, and I was listening to a song on the radio or CD, and I was crying, and it was close to the second Christmas. And next to me, a car pulled up. And in this car, kind of matched up with me, my driver's side was a back passenger window. And as we stop in traffic, I look over this window, and there was nothing else written on this car except for that one window. And in that window was written in shoe polish, like we've all done when we were young, was, I love you, Daddy, Chase. So that was the day I said, okay, God, I can't do this anymore. This isn't helping, that ain't helping, this ain't helping. I can't do it anymore. And that's the day I said, okay, God, what can I do now? So as I hand these out, I've handed them out to so many people. These were given out at his funeral and his visitation, but I carry them at work. carry them in my car. I've got them in the satellite office. I got them at home. And if I ever get the chance to share Chase's story, I do. Because a pastor told me right after Chase died, he said, okay, are you going to be ready? Because it's going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen. Somebody's going to come to you and say, I just lost somebody. How did you handle it? So what are we going to do? It took me 2 years to get to a point to figure that out. But now, at that time I figured out that I could sit and talk to somebody. I could share his story, share my story. Yes, you're going to struggle. Yes, but without God and without faith in the Lord, you're not going to make it. You might pretend you're going to make it, but you're not. And you're going to battle it. My ex-wife looked at me 3 years after Chase died and said, okay, I'm finally facing Christmas for the first time. I've ran every Christmas. I'm where you were 3 years ago. I had a friend not too long ago that passed away that worked in our office in the summertime. She was killed in Nashville. And her mother was at the office not too long ago. When she came in, I walked in. I was like, I'm not going to make you cry. She goes, no. She said, I thought about you after Elise died. She said, I thought about Elise bringing that poem home and showing it to me. And she said, it took me a few weeks, but after I started thinking, I wonder how Jaremy is. So we sat in the office, our little room 4, and talked for probably 15 minutes or so about how she's doing, how she's facing it head on. And going back to my ex-wife, it's like 3 years later, she's facing it. And I told Miss Denton, I said, you got to face it now, or are you going to face it later? So the best way that you can face it, you've got to have your faith, and God's going to take care of it. And then you're going to have to share the story, because someday somebody's going to come up to you and say, how did you make it? Did you run, or did you put your hands in God and let him handle the situation? And it's hard, it's hard. But to share Chase's story, when I finally got back to meeting Sara, was my mom was like, okay, and I said, well, how am I going to handle this? This information, how does she know about this and this? Well, there's Facebook, and there's this, and there's that. I said, well, okay, they've already done the book, then fine, but I want to meet Sara. I want to understand what she's got. And finally, months later, we got to sit down at the Thomas house and got there early, and she sat down across the table from me and had her notebook, said these are the pages when Chase came to me of how she receives the messages, and had all this stuff scribbled down. And I'm like, how did you know all that? And then I was like, okay, I understand. Understand that you're here to help heal. My healing was already in place to a point, but had that little extra helps too. So I told her, and luckily a couple of times we've gotten, go somewhere at the Thomas house usually, that I've gotten to get up and share this with people to say, my whole thing is share Chase's story all you want, but let everybody know my part in his testimony too. That was our agreement. Throw in what Chase did, what he left, his little testimony, why I became a Christian, And that was the only thing that I requested Sara to do, is always talk about Chase before she got to know him, that she learned from us, the family. And, that's kind of weird. We met through my parents and I going to the Thomas house, which my parents met Sue at the Thomas house but didn't know Sara. Sara and Sue went to the Thomas house but didn't know me. She got there and says, hey, I got this message for somebody, and I don't know who it belongs to, but do y'all know? Well, the family that owns the Thomas house is like, yeah, we know this story. So how it just kind of trickled all the way down is her job, as she told you earlier. I've got to find these people that I have these messages for. And she found us through 3 or 4 different people, but she found us. And then we received that message from her, from Chase. And it was aimed a lot toward Chase's stepdad, that carried the guilt that it was his weapon. A lot of it was about that, which I've shared, and he has struggled a lot. He's carried the guilt.
It's also too, I think, that souls, like he knew that I was going to the Thomas house. I had never been to the Thomas house before in my life. He knew that I was going. This was his opportunity to give a message.
Chase to go to her.
If Chase would have gave a message to someone to relate, and let's say that they were not a Christian, you probably wouldn't have handled it the way you You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
if he would have been given a message to someone to relay, and it could have been just anybody, but I think after meeting you and bonding with your family and your parents and stuff like that, it's just become more of a,
It's opened up more door of the Christianity part or the gift from God. It's reassuring, that's the whole thing is, this is where we were before we met her. And this is where she was before she met us, but how it all kind of brought together. I'm not up here to preach to anybody, but
Chase has really opened my eyes too.
yeah.
He's helped
And I
me
mean,
a
some
lot.
of the stories that she can tell you, or you can read the book, or however you want to learn about Chase, is just amazing. What she came to me and said this, and this, and I'm like, wow, it's pretty cool. But it was another reassuring thing. I think reassured that I think Chase does visit my parents for sure. I think I've had a couple of instances. I think Chase has visited me too. More reassuring that I know he's described some of my parents' house that they didn't even own and have before he died. That Sarah's gotten through Chase. But there's been a few things at my house I think he's been in contact too. And it's just a reassurance. We've got a loving God, and I think he blesses us with this stuff, the comfort in our hearts, knowing that, hey, we will one day be together again. This is just a little sidetrack, but that day will be glorious, and that's what I look forward to. I'm not scared of ever dying because I know where we're going to go and how it's going to happen.